Hi, I'm Paul Seal from coachshare.co.uk. Welcome to this 5th episode, part 2, where I'll show you how to build a website with Umbraco 13. It sounds a bit odd, episode 5, part 2. It's just that what I was going to cover in episode 5 was supposed to be in one episode, but it just got too long. I decided to split it into 2 parts. So in the last episode, we worked out how to do the navigation using the block grid. And in this episode, we're going to do the footer content using the block grid as well. So let's get into it then. So let's just go and see what we have in the back office at the moment. If we go to content, we go to site settings. We've got our navigation with our drag and drop, etc. And we've got our footer. And our footer, we've just got an empty label property, but we want to change it so that we're using the block grid for the footer. I'll show you what it looks like on the finished product. So this is what it looks like on the finished one. So we're going to create this. So first of all, we're going to create a block grid property, and it's going to have this 3-column layout. And then within that, we can add a footer content or a social links item. So let's just delete this. And then when we add them, you've either got a footer content, which just consists of a title and some text, or we've got a social links one, which is a title and then a block list for the icon links, and you can choose the icon color and the inverted icon color. So that's what happens when you hover over it, and the reason why it goes black or not. And then we've got another one is just the footer content as well. So we're going to create all of this. That's what we're going to learn how to do in this episode. So where do we start then? So I think the place to start is just to go into the block grid and create, go into settings, I'll discard the changes, go to data types, go to custom, and then we're going to create a new data type by clicking on dots and do new data type, and then I'll call it a block grid type, and then we'll call this footer content. So the property editor we're going to use is going to be a block grid. We're not going to click on add block. I covered it before, but if you click that, it will install we're not going to click on install sample configuration. If we do click that, it will actually add a load of configuration. It will create some document types and some partial views, and we don't need them. So we'll leave that. But what we will do is we will add a group. So we're going to add a group, and the name of this group is going to be called layout. And then we're going to add a block. And the block we're going to add is called 3-column. So for now, what I'll do is I will use this way of doing it. So create new element type, and then we'll fix it later. We'll move it into the right section. But I just want to show you that you can do it this way as well. So we'll call this 3-column, and we will choose an icon for it. There we go, perfect. And just give it that color there of green. So this doesn't need anything more than that. So once we've done that, we can go on to configuring it. So if we have a look, see how it gets configured. So we want it to be allowed in the root, but not allowed in the areas. And then it's going to have its own areas. So to start off with, we'll just add some areas. I'm going to call this left. The create button, I'll just put add footer content. And then number of blocks, only one. And then later we'll come back and allow the block types. So let's drag this down to be 4s. So we're only allowed to create them in 4s. So again, we'll do, did I call this center or middle? I call it middle. Middle, add footer content, only one, and well, we'll delete that. We'll add those later. Submit that, change that to be 4, and then add one final one. Call it right, add footer content. Number of blocks, 1, allow blocks, oh yeah, not ready for that yet. And then we'll drag that down to 4 again. There we go. And then in the advanced, we'll just leave it as it is. We don't want a preview for it. And then we'll just submit that and save. So that's our layout. Then we'll need to have 2 more. Now, what I want to do is I want to go to that document type. Oh, what does that do? Oh, that's the areas. So I want to go to that document type we created. It put it in the root here of document types folder. But what I want to do is move it into the block grid content models folder. So I'm just going to show you that if you did create it there, you can also move it into the relevant folder. And now it's gone into there. So that's where I normally like to create these. So we need to create a footer content one to start with. So let's do that. This is a fairly simple one. So in our content models folder, click on the dots, click on create an element type and call it footer content. And I've spelled that wrong yet again. I write it all day long, I'm sure. And then we'll just pick an icon for it. I think I've picked a couple of horizontal bars on this one. So if I can see 2 horizontal bars, I will pick that. Otherwise, I will not take too long about this. And I'll just pick something anyway. That will have to do for now. So yeah, footer content icon. All right, so we're going to add a tab, call it content. We're going to add a property to this tab. I'm going to call it title. And then we're just going to say enter a title for this item. And then we're going to search for text string. We're going to make it mandatory and then submit. And then I'm going to add another property and just call it text. Enter some content for this item. And I'm using the spacebar there, the tab and the spacebar. It's quite handy, saves me having to click. So I'm going to make this the rich text editor, the default one that comes with it. And I'll just do submit on that. Oh, I'll make it mandatory as well. If you're adding one of these, basically you should have to fill it out. So we've added that. So let's go and just go into our data type. Block grid, footer content. We're going to create another group. And in this group, I think we're going to call it modules. So unnamed group, I'm just going to call it modules. And then I'm going to pick from the components folder, block grid, content models. I'm going to pick footer content. And in that footer content, I'm just going to get it configured. I'm only going to allow it in areas, not in the root of the actual grid. And the sizes that it creates is irrelevant on this one. And we won't look at a preview for this yet. So we'll just submit that and save. And I'm going to make it available in these areas. So I'm just going to slow down and go back for you. So I clicked on the 3 column. I went to areas. I clicked on one of the areas and now I'm saying allowed block types. So I want to allow footer content in here and just up to one of them. Submit that. Same in this one, allow block types, footer content only up to one of them. And right as well, up to one of them. There we go. So let's go to our doc type that we had before. So we've got the site settings and on that we have our footer. And if we use this, we can go to the footer properties and we can see the footer content. Let's change that footer content. Click on change and do grid and call it, pick the footer content one and then submit and then save and close. Now we have a block grid, and if we go into here, go to footer, we can add a 3 column, which is how we had it on the other one, and then we can start adding some content. So title 1, and this is the title. Create. Title 2, this is another one, and then title 3, this is more. Then we save and publish that. So we don't have any previews or anything. We just have those items being created here with this editor. So now that we've got that, let's have a look at what we can do to render that on the front end of the site. So I'll just get my reference project up. And I'll just go to our code that we're working on. So at the moment we've got 2 components, the navigation area and the navigation group. But what we will need is we'll need to add a new one called the 3 column. And it will be similar to this one. So I'm going to make a copy of navigation area, Control C, Control V, and then I'm just going to F2 and then I'll do 3 column. So I've renamed it to 3 column. So it's going to be a block grid item. We want this check here to say if there aren't any, if there isn't anything there. And then what we will do is if we have a look at the HTML on the front end of the site, and we scroll down, remember we're here to generate the same HTML as what gets output. So we've got these col LG4, MB5, and if we just and MBLG0. So we're going to copy that. We can get that from the footer partial. So if we go into our footer and we just have a look, so we see if we've got these. So basically we're recreating these. So I'm going to copy one of those and I'm going to put that in here. And then in this, I'm going to cut that, paste that there. So I'm saying for every area, put this HTML around each area and then render the block grid item area. So that means then that we can go to our footer content and create ourselves a simple one. So if I just undo that delete there, what we're going to create is we're going to create something that creates this H4, and then we're also going to do something that puts in the paragraph tag. So let's do that. So I'll redo the delete and save that. Now I'll just copy this, or control drag, it'll do the copy. Thank you, Tony Meaden. And then we will call this one footer content. So footer content is there, and this one's very simple. So we just need to do the H4 as it is on the footer already. So if we just go to the footer and we just copy that H4. There we go. We can literally just do @model.content.title. Whoops. And then in here, we can do actually, I need to make sure that the model is of type content models.footer content. And it doesn't recognize it because it's a new doc type that we created. So what we can do is we can go into the back office and we can just generate the models. So I'll go into settings, the settings title menu, then models builder, then generate models. So now it should, if I do a build solution on this, it should recognize the models and it will go green and it won't be complaining anymore. And I'll just run that. I might need to close this file just to make it happy. By closing it and then going back in, it kicks in again with the whole syntax highlighting. So by having done that, now what I should be able to do is model.content. It doesn't like content.title. That's weird. I'm not sure why it doesn't like model.content.title. Maybe oh, I know what it is. So I've got this wrong here. So I still needed to have wrapped this in umbraco.cms.core.blocks.block grid item. I needed to have wrapped that in there. And that should make it happy now. So it's Umbraco view page around that. So I can even get rid of this, I think. And Umbraco CMS core models, models dot blocks block grid item, and then content models footer content. So that's just typing it, making it what this is going to receive is going to be of that type. If I close it and then come back in, hopefully that red error at the beginning has gone. And it has, and also now the title works. So that's how we render the title, and then we just do at model.content.text to render the text. So let's see, shall we? So if I go back to this and I reload the page, give it a load, nothing's happened yet because we're still telling it to render the footer in the way that we currently are with this here. So what we can do instead is we can just tell it actually render the footer using the block grid. So let's have a look how we do that on the example site. So we've got our footer text center, we've got our container and our row. So then what we want to do is we want to take this, this and this, and I'm just going to copy, comment it out at the moment, just so we can use it for reference later. But in here, I'm going to say await HTML.get block grid items HTML async. And then we'll do site settings. So I need the site settings to get the footer content. So what we can do is we can do a little code block here. So we can say var site settings equals, and then we'll say model.get site settings because we already created an extension method that will allow us to do that. And then we just say if the site settings dot footer content is null, then just return. Don't bother rendering the footer, basically. And then in here we can just say, right, I want you to render the block grid items and I want you to use the footer content property off the site settings. So we've done that, and let's just press that to update it and see what it thinks to this. So we've got an error, and this is good because we'll fix this error and we'll work it out to see what our problem was and how we can fix it. So already I can tell what the issue is. I'll give you a second to work it out yourself. But it's telling you an opening angle bracket is missing the corresponding closing bracket. And if we see in this debugging help here, we've got one here and we've got two there, and then we've only got one closing. So it should be as simple as at the end of the line on the footer content, going to the end and just putting the final closing angle bracket then if we reload, it works. So it's happy with that now. And then let's have a look at the content. It said, yeah, title 1, this is the title, title 2, this is another one, and this is more. So that's good. We've got content showing in there. And let's have a look how it compares to the final version. So if we were to bring that over here and go to end. So we've got 1 and then we've got 2. So 1, 2. Now this looks different to that one. So the size of the content is different. Let's inspect the HTML on this. So this has got a class of lead. So when I was building this, I remembered that when I was building it, I needed to add some things into the rich text editor to customize it, to allow us to put classes on things like paragraph tags and all sorts of things like that. So now would be a good time to show you how we can do that. And the way that I've done it on this site is I've used the rich text editor configuration. Now, when I do go into this, I just want you to know that this will be changing in Umbraco 14 and beyond. But remember, Umbraco 14 is not the long-term supported version. Umbraco 13 is right up until the end of 2026, I believe. We can double check the versions if we go to psw.codechair.co.uk. And then if we go to the Umbraco versions tab, we'll be able to see. So yeah, this is right up until December 14th, 2026. So Umbraco 14 will be dead by March, well not dead, but May 2025. So it's changing in 14. So when it settles down, there will be a new way of doing it. So if you're building this in 13, and you come to do the upgrade to the next long-term support in the future, you need to be aware that the thing that I'm going to show you now might not necessarily be the same. So let's have a look, see how we do it. So there is a thing called the rich text editor custom config, and the way we do that is in the app settings. So if we go into here at the same level as where we've got security allow concurrent logins, we can just put in some some settings here. So we've got rich text editor, and then it's I love this schema that's telling you what options you can do. So it's custom config, and then we want to do style formats. And don't worry, I will put this into a gist so that you can just copy this, because it's going to be a bit fiddly. No one wants to see someone copying and pasting a bit of JSON. But what I'm doing here, I've got a few style formats that I've worked on that I will just paste this in here. And as I say, I'll put this in a gist for you. But let's just have a look at what it is. So there are some formats. So I've got paragraphs, and then I've got normal. And with the normal one, the block for it is a P tag. And then with one called lead, the block is a P, but it's also got an attribute that is a class, and that is lead, and so on. So let's save that, rerun it again, and let's just see if it works. So I've lost my tab. Oh, there it is. Let's go into Umbraco. Let's go into the content, site settings, footer content. Let's see. Yeah, we've got paragraphs, lead, and lead. So we've got lead twice for some reason. I don't know why I've got lead in there twice. Well, let's just delete one of those. I'll make it so that we don't have it in there twice. So we've got normal, and then we've got lead. and then we've got lead again. Oh, but with a MB0. I'm not sure why that is. Let's just leave it for now. Let's not go breaking things. So what we want to do is we just want to use this, and we just want to say it's a lead paragraph actually. So if we have a look at what it actually gives it, it's P with a class of lead. So submit that, save and publish. Let's go to the front end, reload this. Can you see that the text has got bigger? So that's how we want it to be. So let's do that on the other one as well, over here. Submit that, save and publish. There we go. And then what we need to do next is to do the social icons. So let's get on with doing this social icons as well then, shall we? So now that we're happy with that, all right, there was a bit of weird configuration there. What I'll make sure is that when I copy the gist in, it will be the working version, and you'll see the gist in the notes, the description of the page. So yeah, what we need to do is we need to create the other type now, the one for the social links. So if we go into the configuration of the site and go to settings, data types, let's just have a look, custom, block grid footer content, and where you see we've got 3 column and then we've got footer content, we need to add the social links one in. So let's go back up here, go to document types, components, block grid, content models. Now where we've got components and then block grid, we want to create one now for social links, and that will be in a folder called block list, because I like to just separate them out for different uses. So these models are used for block list, and then I just do a content models inside that, because remember I did mention you could do settings models as well. And in this, what we'll do is we'll create one called social link. It's an element type, and I'm just going to look for an icon. I think there was a smiley face somewhere. Hopefully it's down the bottom here. There we go. I'll just use that. Right. Oh, I've just logged out on my example project, so let me just log in so that I can carry on with this. Okay, so we've got the social links, and let's go in and edit that on here. Is it called social links? Yeah, so it's a social link block list item. And on that social link, we are going to have 4 properties. So we're going to have a content tab, and then we're going to have 4 properties. One of them is going to be the link for it. So add the link for this item. And we're going to use the single URL picker that we already created. And it is mandatory because it's a social link. We're going to have an icon, and we'll say choose the icon for this item. And on this, we're going to create an SVG picker. So we don't already have one. So we're going to use the media picker and create a new configuration of it. So the configuration is going to be called square brackets media picker. And then we will just call it icon picker brackets SVG. And the acceptor types is just going to be a vector graphics. And that's all we want, and the amount is just a single one. So we've created our new data type, submit that. So now we've got a link and an icon, and then we want the icon color, which is going to use the color picker. So choose the color of the icon, and we didn't need to do this. Like, we could just not have it changing color, but what I just wanted to demonstrate the ability to choose an SVG icon and change the color of it on the output as well. So that's why we're doing this. So then we do select editor, and then we'll just do color, and then we'll just say use the pickers, and we'll do color picker. So for this color picker, we're going to edit this color picker, and we're going to include labels with it, and we're going to add some colors. Now, I've already looked into, if you have a look here, I've already looked into what the primary, secondary, success, danger, warning, etc., what all the hex codes are for those. So we're just going to create this property using those. I'm going to call it color picker brand colors, like this. And then I'm going to start adding the colors. So the first color, edit that. What happened there? I'll remove that. That's weird. So I'm just going to call this dark. Oh, right, yeah, and then I'll change the color in here. So for dark, it's going to be 212529. Choose that. Update. Right, now, and call that dark. Right, okay. Then we're going to create one for white. Add that. Then we want one for the primary color. So the primary color is 1ABC9C, and we'll give it a label of primary. Then we're going to do another one called secondary. So again, the point of this was so that we've got some predefined colors. Like, if you wanted to, you could do what we did earlier on, where you just have that color wheel or that picker that just picks the color. You could do that, but I'm just showing you how to use a set of colors that are predefined. Maybe you're working for a client and they've got certain brand colors that they can only use on their site. This is ideal for that. So we'll do this #2C3 E50. Call this secondary. And we'll do another one. This one will be the success color. So 198754. Well, that's weird, not having any letters at all. Call that secondary. Oh, we've already got one called secondary. Sorry, that's success, isn't it? Success. And then we've got one is danger. So the danger color is DC3545. Choose that, give it the label danger, add that. Then we want one for warning. So we've just got two more to create. So the warning one is FFC 107 with a label of warning. Add that one as well. And then we'll do one for info. Oh, two more, info and light. So info is 0DC AF0 info. And the final one is light. So that one is F8 F9FA. So that's it. So color picker called brand colors, submit that, and we've used that now for the icon color, and we'll make that mandatory as well. And then we'll do another property, which is the inverted icon color. And this one is choose the color to use when the icon is hovered over. You probably wouldn't do this, like, it's not normal to do this. This should just all be part of the CSS. This is just for the exercise of changing the colors. So yeah, don't get hung up on it. Oh, this isn't real world scenario or anything like that. Let's just go with it, follow the process and see how to create it. So we're creating our block list data type, don't forget. So we've just created our model. So now we need to go back and we need to create the block list data type. So in here, before we do, what I want to do is just make sure that any data types that we've created don't get lost and they actually get moved into the custom folder. So I'm just going to move those. It's just good to keep it tidy as you go along. There we go. Right, so block list social links. Okay. And we're going to use a property editor, which is a block list. And we're going to add a block, which it lives in components, block list, content models, social link. Nice and organized. So with that block, there is this thing in, I don't think we've done it already, but maybe we have. But basically, you can use some templating here. So we can do link 0 and then do .name. Because we know that the link is mandatory, this should work. So we'll always have a link. So we'll always be able to get the name of that link. And then we're just saying that we're using the model there, the content model. So now we've just created a very simple block list type. And we need to remember to add that to our block grid element that we're going to create called social links. So let's create one in here now. So block grid, content models, create another element type called social links. And we can have a look for a decent icon. I'm just going to use that one for now. It doesn't really matter what icon we use. So then we're going to add a tab called content. I'm going to add a property called title. And a title, enter a title for this item. String, text string, mandatory, submit. So we've got our title and then we just want to do links and add the social links. And then in the select editor, what we can do is we can do link, look for link and find the social links. Now I'm not making it mandatory. So we've got our block grid model. We can now go back to our custom data types, block grid footer content, and we can add a new module into there. So let's add this one called footer content. Social links. And in this one, we want to say, don't allow it in root, only allow it in the areas. We're not worried about its own areas and we're not worried about previews or anything at the moment. So submit that and save. Then what we want to do is we want to make it available in the areas of the 3 column, like we did with the footer content. So we only want to allow to 1 in each area. Submit that and save. So now we should be able to edit this in the back office. We should be able to delete that one that was there, add a new one. We've got the option of 2 different ones now, footer content or social links. Let's do social links and we'll just do social links as the title and then the social links that we want to add. We can do that in here. and in here we can choose an icon. So I'll just choose the Facebook one for this, and let's just see how I configured it on the other site. So yeah, let's just make that one red to start with, and hover color black, dark. Oh, this, choose the color of the icon. I did. This property is invalid. That's weird. Oh, you need a link. Okay, we'll just do https facebook.com and create that. Right, there's one. So it didn't put the name in for some reason. I didn't think you had to. I thought it just did it for you. That's weird. Yeah, there you go. And then we'll do https Twitter. Oh, x.com. X Twitter. Link title X. Submit that. Choose the icon. And we'll make that one info color and then dark for the hover. And then the last one we'll just do as Mastodon, and we'll make it primary and dark for the hover, and then we'll just https mastodon.com and just Mastodon. There we go. Create that, save and publish. So now we've got our 3-column, our footer content, our social links, etc. So let's see what happens when we try to render it on the front end. It couldn't render the component of type social links. This likely happened because of the partial view could not be found, social links. So it's telling us we need to create one. So we will. So let's go into social links. Let's go into the folder where the component lives, and we will just make a copy of one. Control drag, and then we'll call it social links. Remember, we need to go into Umbraco and do the model builder. So again, we go through that way: settings, title, menu, models builder, generate models. That's done that. Build solution. And actually, where we had footer content, that's probably the better one to start with. So I'm just going to copy the content of that in here. And then I'm just going to change that to be social links. So we've got the text uppercase MB4 model.content and title. And then what we need to do is render out the links, but we can't render out the links at the moment because the reason we can't render out the links at the moment is because we've not worked it out yet. But let's just comment this, delete that. And now let's just see what happens on the front end if we try to render the title. So we've got the title coming through. So that's a good start. So I always think it's good to have incremental improvements. So the next thing we need to do is work out how to progress. So I think we should put an if statement in here. So if model.content.links is not null. And I think you can probably do .any instead. That might work. I'm not sure if that works. Is the logic of that? So the question mark dot links. Maybe I'm trying to get too clever. I did see that it was more preferable to do the dot count is faster. I'm I'm not sure if it is. I'm just going to save this and close it and come back in because the syntax highlighting is not there. Oh, okay. So if model.content.links.count is greater than 0, we have some. I don't know what that is. That's not HTML. I'll just do it in a P. We have some. Save that. Now let's go in here. We have some. And then let's just delete them. And before I delete it, I'm just going to copy the whole thing. Copy that. Now I'm going to delete it. Save and publish. Refresh. It doesn't show anything. So I think we can be happy that that's going to work. So let's put it back in. So I can just use the paste clipboard, save and publish, reload it. There we go. We have some social links. Right. So now that we know we've got some links, it's not null. Let's just do a for each on that. And what we can say is for each block list item, and I don't want to keep doing Umbraco CMS core models blocks. What I'm going to do is put this into the view imports, and I'm just going to actually do an @ using in here, so it always knows about it. Just swap the lines around to make it correct. So for each block list item, that is a social link. For each one of these, item in model.content.links. Let's do something with it. So what can we do? So for now, let's just render out the link. So we'll just do A, and then we'll do class equals button outline. Now let's just have a look and just remind ourselves what it looks like. If we go to the footer, remember the aim is we're not just making HTML up, we want it to look like it does on here. So let's just copy one of these for now and just paste it in here. So they're using Font Awesome. We're not referencing Font Awesome in this project, so this won't actually do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, just put the title, the name of the link. So at item.link .content.link.name. So that should render the name in there, and then we'll just do at item.content.link.url in there. Let's just see what happens if we save that. So just to show you what I've got there. And then we'll refresh. So we're getting something. We've got Facebook, X, and Mastodon. But what we don't have is the icons. Right. So another thing is that I don't know if you noticed this was moaning saying, oh, it could be a null link. So what we can do is we can just at the top here, inside the for each, we can just say if item.content.link is null, then continue. And that will satisfy that compiler warning now. So if it's null, just don't even bother, just move on to the next one. Okay. So when it comes to rendering SVGs inline, there's a really good package that I like to use, and it is called Tag Helpers. So if we go to the marketplace and we'll look for Warren Buckley, because Warren made this package. And if we have a look to see in here, we've got an SVG one. So if we look for SVG, our SVG. So the basic usage is you can either just give it the source of an SVG and it will render it out inline, or you can tell it a property, which is a media item, and it will render it as well. So we're going to use it where we just give it the property, which is the icon property. So let's go into our code. And we just need to add another check as well. So if that's not null, if that's null, or the item.content.icon is null, or the item.content.icon color is null. If any of those are null, and probably the icon color inverted as well, but it shouldn't be because we made it mandatory. There we go. So if any of these, and let's just break this statement up a bit so we can read it. If any of those are null, then we just continue. So let's have a look to see what would get rendered out at the moment. None of them are null, it gets rendered out. So we're going to need to add this package, the Tag Helpers package. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we check its compatibility. So it looks like it should work with our version of Umbraco. And the way we do it is .NET add package and then our Umbraco.tag helpers. So we can use the package manager console in here to do this. So what's good is just to do ls, where are we? So at the moment we are inside the folder. What we want to do is we want to go into freelancer. So cd freelancer. You can do tab ls. So that puts us inside the project. And this is where we want to run the command from. Now you can do it this way, or you can use this where you can do tools, NuGet package manager, manage NuGet packages for solution. We can look for tag helpers. We can click on browse to find it. We can put the full our.umbraco.tag helpers, and then we can find it there. So we could do it that way, but I want to, and then all we would do is we'd tick that and then we'd choose the version and then install. So that's the project we're installing it to. But let's do it this way as well. So if we just, I'm going to clean the solution so it stops the site. And then I'm going to do .NET add our Umbraco. Right, now what did it say? Required command, oh, I didn't do package. So I just did .NET add, and I need .NET add package, like that. So two different ways of doing the same thing. And basically all it would do is it would just modify our project file and tell it to reference that project, that package. So now if we build the solution, we should have it available to us now, our SVG. But in order to use it, we need to make it available as a tag helper. So we copy this here, and then we go into our view imports. If you remember, there was some tag helpers in there already. So if we just put it like that next to those, and then if we go into our social links, we should be able to use it. So let's try it out then. We'll do our SVG. There we go. This is a tag helper. And then we'll say the media item equals item.content.icon. We want it to use the icon property. The class is going to be SVG Inline FA, because we're sort of cheating. We're using a bit of what it was using before, and then our SVG. We don't need to render the name anymore. And yeah, that's it. So let's have a look to see what happens. Does this render an icon? And what we haven't got, we've not put a title on, so we can put a title on this. At item.content.link.name. So we have a title, and we can put a target as well. Target equals at item.content.link.target. And now we've got that as well. Let's go to the front end and see if we're getting the icons rendered at all. There we go. So we've got something happening. So it is rendering the icons. So there's still more that needs to be done. So let's just check that we've got the relevant things on there. So we've got our button outline light, button social, MX1, SVG. Oh no, we don't have that. Then we're saying our media item, item.content.icon, SVG inline FA, and then FA FW. So it is doing it, and we should be glad that this is actually rendering it. And let's just have a look at the actually, I think it is doing it. It's just I picked a different icon for that one, but I think it's rendering it correctly. It's just not rendering it with the colors. So when I did it on this other one, on this demo site, I rendered a block of CSS to style the hover color, the color and the hover color. But what I think we can do is, because basically this is just going to use the HTML anyway, we can add HTML attributes to this. I think that we're going to try it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a style attribute and do fill, and then I'm just going to do and like this. So this means that it will just inject the whatever the value I want in there, and then I'm going to use this here to allow me to put this in front of it, and then in these curly braces I can put a variable. So it's a way to put strings together, like a templating way of doing it. So if I do, I can't remember the technical word for this, so please forgive me. So what we've done now is I've just told it to use the style rule of fill and put the icon color in here. So let's just see, bit of inline styles, never hurt anybody. I don't know why I pressed that button, didn't need to. Let's see if it changes the foreground color, and if it does, no. That didn't work. Let's see, did it get rendered with that? So the SVG itself, it accepted the class, but it didn't like the style. So what we'll do is we'll do it how I've done it on this other one. So instead of doing that there, we will just create an inline style block. And then what we'll do is we'll create a key for this so that we can have, for each of them that is generated, we will have its own. So we'll get the icon key, because remember we're looping through these. So we'll get the key dot to string, and then we'll do this trick for n so that it removes the dashes out of it. And then in our style, we'll just create a class to style against, and we'll just do icon key. So for this style, we want it to do the fill rule. There. Like that, we can just copy that into there. So we wanted it to fill it, put that rule in, and we'll copy it again. And then we'll just put hover like that. So for a hover CSS rule, or copy it again if it's focus as well. On hover or focus, we want the other color, the inverted color. Now that should work, apart from the fact that we haven't added the class. So this class here, SVG icon key, we just need to add here. So if we go back in here, reload this. Hey, so we've got our initial color and we've got our hover color. Let's just test out the hover color. Make it go to light blue. Oh, oh no, it started off as light blue. That was silly. Make it go red. There you go. So that's proving that you can render an SVG and you can define the styles and colors for it. You can do all of that inline. Yeah, I think actually that is another good place to leave it. What we'll do on the future episodes, we're going to do more about the block grid, and I'll show you the preview and things like that, how to get the preview working with the community package that there is for block grid preview. But for now, I think this is another long enough episode. So we've managed to make it all work, render out the footer correctly with the icons and everything like that, and make them go off to these places. So yeah, it's a good place to end in terms of the lesson, but there's just a bit more content for you. So just so you know that this, when it all goes out with all the episodes, will be public. So this is the repo. If you want to pick up from a certain episode, then you just go to all the code at the episode of end, whatever, like end of episode 5 or whatever. So if you wanted to pick up on the next episode for episode 5 part 2, so I will do 5.2, then you'll pick up the code in that, and then that will be ready for episode 6. So I'll push that in there. Also, if you did want to say thanks by buying me a coffee, you can do. It's at coachshare.co.uk, but no one has to do that. And please click on like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget there's a guest book as well on here. So if we go back to this, it'd be really good if you could sign the guest book, just say hello, let me know that you're doing the videos, let me know how you're getting on with it, and maybe ask some questions. And don't forget you can ask questions in the video itself in the comments of YouTube. But yeah, click like, subscribe, share, do whatever. Spread the joy of Umbraco to your friends and colleagues. All right, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.